In this video, we'll see how we can migrate the data from Aurora PostgreSQL to S3. So we're going to do both full load as well as CDC here. First, we're going to create Aurora PostgreSQL. Then we're going to create S3 bucket. Then we're going to create this DMS task. Then we're going to do this full load plus the CDC. Today, we'll see how we can create an Aurora PostgreSQL. And then we're going to use DMS to copy the data from this Aurora PostgreSQL into an S3 bucket. Let's quickly create an Aurora PostgreSQL. Then we're going to create a DMS task to copy data from this Postgres to S3 bucket. Let's quickly jump into AWS portal and see how this is gonna work. Right now I'm in AWS portal. Gonna go into RDS. So type RDS and you will find the service, another relation database service. So you'll get this page here. You're gonna click create database. Just go back. See if you can see here. Amazon Aurora is MySQL Postgre compatible enterprise class database starting at less than $1 per day. Aurora support up to 128 TB of auto scaling storage capacity and 6 replication across the 3 availability zones and 15 low latency read replicas. So compared to other databases, like if you create this Aurora Amazon Aurora database, which cheaper compared to other databases. So for this demo, we're going to create Aurora PostgreSQL. Let's create an Aurora PostgreSQL now. I'm going to click on create database. So here, I'm going to use standard create. Then the engine type, I'm going to choose Aurora. You can pick the options available here. If you want to use Postgres standalone, you can use this one also. Here you'll have more control. But if you choose Amazon, it's like most of things are controlled by Amazon. But if you want more control, then you can go for PostgreSQL because you will have more access to the database, everything. So here I'm going to choose Aurora Postgre, Amazon Aurora, and edition I'm going to use Aurora PostgreSQL compatible edition. And it's a list of versions available here. So I'm going to pick the default one. The default one is 13.7. I'm going to use this one. And the template, this is for the demo. So I'm going to use test.dev. Settings, I'm going to give the DB cluster identifier. I'm going to give Postgre DB. Postgres DB and my username is Postgres and password I'm going to give a password now. So similarly confirm password, I'm going to type in the same password again. So again you have 3 DB instance class. You have serverless, memory optimized classes, then bustable classes. I'm going to use a serverless one. So it's going to take auto scaling. If you want to do that, going to take care of the auto scaling everything. So I'm going to use serverless. And the capacity, I'm going to choose the default one. The availability, I'm not going to use multi-zone here because for the demo purpose I'm using as the default one. Don't create an Aurora replicate. If you want a high availability, then you can use the first option. Connectivity, and I'm just keeping a default one. Don't connect to easy to computer instance IPv4. Yeah, the network type IPv4. And virtual cloud VPC. Currently I don't have any VPC, so I'm just creating a new VPC for this one. Everything is new here. So in my environment currently I don't have any VPC, so I'm just creating a new VPC here. If you have a default one, you can choose pick the default one. Since I don't have anything, so I'm going to create a new VPC here. Similarly, since it's a new VPC, this is going to create a new subnet also. Create new DB subnet group. In the public access, since it's a demo purpose, I'm giving yes option, but in case if it's like kind of restricted access you want to give, you can give it as no also. But for the demo purpose, I'm going to give public access. Security groups, again here I don't have anything right now, so I'm going to create a new one here. So I'm giving a name here. This is my Postgre security group, so I'm just give a Postgre name as Postgre. Availability zone, I don't have any preference now, so I'm just giving us no preference. If you want to choose anything, you can choose based on your chosen region. It gives all the availability zones. Right now I don't have any preference, so you can pick any of the ones that's available. So again, if you want to turn on the Babel flash, you can turn on this one. Right now I'm going to not choose this one. Database authentication, if you want specific more access, like more kind of authentication, if you can choose these options here. Right now I'm not going to use that one. Again, the monitoring purpose insights. So if you want to have this monitoring alert everything, so you can turn this one, because since it's a demo purpose I'm going to turn off this all these things. Um, so again, yeah, the additional configurations, if you want to specifically mention anything, you can do mention in this one. But I'm going to keep the default as it is. I won't touch anything there. I'm going to click on create database. So for this one, it's going to create the new VPC subnet group, everything going to create, and then it's going to create an Aurora PostgreSQL. So right now it is like so it has the instance, it has the cluster as well as the instance. Right now it is read instance. If you see here, it will create as creating. So finally you'll get it available here. And so now it's a reader instance, it will go as a writer instance, then finally you'll get this enabled. So we can choose this one. So for connecting this to this PostgreSQL, either you can use pgadmin or a different type of software you can use. One is either pgadmin or DBOver. I'm going to use DBOver. So if you want to use pgadmin, that's also fine. So pgadmin or DBOver you can use, because if you choose DBOver, you can connect to many databases, not only Postgre, but Postgre pgadmin is mainly for Postgre. I'll just quickly show it's going to take some time here. I'll come back once it's created. In the meantime, I'll just show how we can create a download this DBOver and connect to this PostgreSQL server. Now the Aurora PostgreSQL is created now. You could see the status is available. So you can see the status here is available here, available. And so if you go into this one, you'll find two endpoints here. You will have the reader endpoint as well as writer instance as well as reader instance endpoints. With the help of this endpoint, you can connect to this PostgreSQL. And if you go into a little bit, go deeper into this instance. So I'm going to the writer instance. You could see the role as one is a cluster, the other one is a writer instance. While it is creating, you'll have reader instance, then followed by writer instance. I just quickly go into this writer instance, click on this one, writer instance. Here, if you see here, you'll have the endpoints. These are the endpoints it's showing here. The port number is 5432, and the network, because I've created VPC as part of this deployment. So you could see VPC everything here. So another thing we want to mention here is the security group. Security group is this is a security group right now. This is being used for this one, for this Postgre. This is a security group being used. I'm clicking on this one. So this is a security group here, and we need to make some changes in the security group. So I'm going to click on inbound rules here. So you want to allow the traffic from outside also. So that's the reason we need to allow that one. So I just want to gonna give that one here. So just click on just click on inbound rules, then we will click on edit inbound rules. Once I'm going to add rule here, so I'm going to custom TP. You can choose that information. I'm going to choose um, since it's Aurora PostgreSQL, I'm going to use here PostgreSQL. So I'm going to give any of my all traffic. So I'm including all traffic, so based on your requirement you can give the IP address whichever you want to connect, but for me I'm just giving as everything right now, because once this is done I delete this instance. So that's the reason I'm just giving everything right now. 0.0.00/0 save rules. So now I've given access to all the from outside also I can able to connect to this PostgreSQL. So now quickly just go into DMS. I'm going back to DMS. So this is my database, this is my instance. So I'm going to take this the writer instance here. I'm going to help of this one. I'm going to connect to this SQL, this PostgreSQL. So I'm going to use this DBOver, the free universal database tool, for connecting to PostgreSQL server. So click on in Google, you can type DBOver. So you'll find this link at the DB community free universal database tool. Click on this option. You can download this the zip file, or you can use the exe file. and whichever operating system you can choose, either Windows or Mac, you can choose that one. Then you can connect, you can download this one. Then you can connect to this PostgreSQL software, PostgreSQL database. So I already have I'll download it, so I'm going to use that one. So yeah, I have downloaded the DBOver software. So I downloaded the zip file. Then once the zip file is downloaded, then I extracted. Then I use the DBOver application file to open this one. Once you open this file, you can now click on this option to create. So it will ask for different software, different type of database here. IBM, MariaDB, MySQL, Oracle, all those things you could see here. So for me it is Postgre. I'm going to use PostgreSQL here. Click on this one, click on next. So here like it's asking like from to some driver is missing, so it's asking whether to download those drivers. So I'm going to click download to download all those required drivers for PostgreSQL. So right now it is downloaded. So the next page you have to give the host name and the user ID and password. So here I'm going to give the host name which I copied from the RDS. So I'm going to give the host name here. The port number is 5432, and I'm going to give the username Postgres, and my password also I'm going to give a password. And if you see that the connect page, you'll have a there's a tab called PostgreSQL. There's a setting you have to show. You have to enable the setting to show all database here. So you could find this in PostgreSQL, that sub tab, like in the sub tab you can find the setting. Click on that one, then you can click finish. Once you click on finish, you will find uh, this tick mark comes here. This means it's connected to PostgreSQL. Click on the database. Right now there is no PostgreSQL, there is no database, only PostgreSQL database is there. You could see that here. If you go inside that one, you could find a schema as public here. So now I'm going to create a new database here. So I'm going to click this SQL this page. Like you'll open this span here, where you can write your queries and everything. So I'm going to create a new database now. Create database base PostgreSQL DB. Let me run this one and see if it works. So yeah, it's showing is created now. So if you refresh this page, you will find that particular DB should come here. Let's see if it's coming here or not. Yeah, I see now the Postgre is coming up here. If you see the database here, I created this Postgres DB and now it's coming here. Click on this one and make it as a default one. So whatever operation I'm going to do, this one take place on this in this DB. So I'm going to create a table now. So create a schema. I will create a schema now. So right now if you go inside this one, you'll find only one public schema. That is like if you want to create a new schema also you can create, or you can go, if you want to use public, you can use public as well. I'm going to create a new schema here. Schema test. I'm going to run this one. It's created now. Let me refresh this one. Refresh and you find a test here. So I'm going to create a table inside the schema. So I'm going to create a table test dot employee, and then I'm going to use ID is integer, and I'm going to use a name. Gonna name as varchar of 30, something like that, 50 and 50. So I'm going to create this table. Let's say let's create it in this schema or not. Yeah, it's created. Let's check if it's showing up tables here. It's currently showing us not. Let me refresh this one. So usually employee schema is there. Okay, employee table is there. Now I'm going to insert a record into this table. Insert test dot employee. Insert employee. Then I'm going to insert values one comma John, something like that. Just Let me run this and see if it works. Insert into tables. Insert into table values. Sorry. Let me run this. I want to insert it. I'll one more row also here. Just two. Then I'm going to insert just for sample records. I'm inserting these two tables. Inserting into this table. Yeah, two records inserted now. Now I run this query this table and see what is the output now. Select this. Yeah, now I have two records in this table. So we use this table, and then we're going to use DMS to copy this data from this PostgreSQL into S3 bucket. And now I'm in AWS portal. I'm going to click on DMS database migration service. The first thing you need to create is here you need to create this application instance. So I'm going to click on create replication instance. So replication instance here. So this is my Postgres instance. And description you want to give anything, like it's fine. I'm going to use a small one here because this is for my testing purpose. I'm going to use micro because I have only two records in the table, so just to use micro here. Based on your record, you can give whichever you want. Engine, I'm keep the default version as it is. So I'm going to use 3.4.7 as an engine here. This is nothing but this application is nothing but managed EC2 instance. So like so just I need to pick a small one for this one because this is like for my demo purpose. I'm going to use a very small one, that is a micro one I'm using here. And the engine I'm default one. The storage I'm going to give the default is 50. VPC, there is a VPC already created as part of this RDS, so I'm going to use that one here. Multi-easy, and I'm going to use Dover test. Public access and given as edit as we enable this one. If you don't want, you can remove this as well. Since it's a demo, I'm keeping it as public here. The advanced security networks, subnet group default I'm using, availability zone no preference. VPC group you can use whichever you want. I'm going to use the default. KMS, so I'm going to default KMS here. Okay, so I'm going to click on create now. So this is going to create as micro instance for me in this micro instance. So it's going to take some time. I'll come back once it is created. Now the replication instance is created. You could see the status is available here. The next thing you need is the source endpoints. So click on here the endpoints here. So I'm going to create an endpoint now. Click create endpoint. So the first one is the source endpoint. So I'm going to use the RDS here. So you can select RDS and click on this one. You will find list of, if you click on this one, it will list all the RDS instances which are available in the RDS service. If you click here, currently I have only one RDS instance, so that's the reason it is showing up that one. You can pick that one here. Automatically this gets chosen and comes here. So you could see that source engine is Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL, and access to the endpoints provide the information. Either you can give through secret manager or you can give the information manually here. So I'm going to use this option, provide access information manually. So this is the server name, port number is 5432, and the username is this one, and the password which I gave while I created this instance, this Postgre instance. And this database name, I'm going to give the Postgres DB which I created after creating this instance, Postgres DB. The database name is Postgres DB. The endpoint settings, you can click on this one. So I'm going to give it as a default one here. KMS tag everything. I'm going to give first thing extra I want to do is to test the endpoint connection. So I've used the VPC, and this is the replication instance we have created, and I'm going to run test. If it's successful, the status will show us successful here. Right now it is showing us testing. Let's see whether you're able to connect to the source instance from this DMS. Yeah, now the status showing is successful. It means we are able to connect to the Postgre instance now from this through this endpoint. Click on create endpoints. So now you could see this endpoints created now. This is our source endpoints. Similarly, now we want target endpoints. Our target endpoint is the S3 bucket. I'm going to click on target endpoint here. So here endpoint I define, I'm going to give as target S3 bucket, and the test engine I have to choose here. The engine whichever you want you can choose here. For me I'm using Amazon S3, so this is the one. So next thing is you need a role here. When you use S3 bucket, you need to provide a service access role and the bucket name here. So let's quickly first create these things and come back here. So I'll just go open another window uh, where we are going to create a this role, actually this service access role. So let's go into IAM. Click on roles, click into DMS. I already have something called CDC role. We can go into this one. I can find out this. Either we can use this role or we create a new one. Let's quickly create a new one here. I'll create a role here. So here the service I'm going to use AWS service, and I'm going to use other service here. I'll click on DMS. So DMS is my service, so I'm going to use DMS here. So DMS database service on this one. Click on next here. So what type of permissions you need? I need access to S3 bucket, so I'm going to type S3 here. You'll find S3 full access. I'm going to click on this one. Then you can click on next here. Okay, click on next. So this, your role name here. I'm gonna give Postgres CDC role. Let's give it this just a name here. DBC Postgres CDC. Then that role has first full access. Click on create role. So the role has been created. Click on view role here. So this is the role I've created just now. So I copy this ARN here. So if you see, just I gave for 3 full access, and I'm going to give that role here, actually the ARN here. I'm going to give this ARN here which has full access to S3 bucket. And next thing is I need a S3 bucket, so I'm going to S3 bucket. So here since I do not have any bucket here, let's check. So create bucket. Let's see if I have any bucket here. Currently I don't have any bucket here, so I'm going to click on create bucket. This is my Postgres CDC bucket. I'll just put this name as CDC. Let's see whether I'm able to create this bucket. So I'm going to keep the default as it is. Yes, create bucket. Yeah, the bucket name is created now. Let's copy this bucket name. I'm going to give the bucket name here. If you want to specifically give any folder, you can give there, but right now I don't have any folder here, so give the bucket name here. And now again same thing I have to do here. You have to give the test end connection here. Let's run the test and see whether you're able to connect this to bucket. Even if the test fails, still the endpoints will be created in the service. Yeah, that we got to make sure, like even if it fails here, still it could create this instant endpoints here. Then we need to modify that one to make it work. Let's see. Basically the 4 main building parts here, like the building blocks for it, DMSs. The first one is the replica instance, where you need to choose instance here. Next is the endpoints. Here you have to choose source target endpoint. The final one is the data migration task. So right now we have created a replica instance. Now we have to create 2 endpoints, source endpoints. Now the target endpoints, here it is successful. Now I'm going to click create endpoints. So this will create endpoints now. So you can see here one is source endpoint as target endpoints. and other one we created is replicant instance. Now we go into database migration task where we're gonna use these replicant instance endpoints to do the migration here. So click on create task here. The first task identifier, I'm gonna give Postgres CDC task. So here I'm going to replace instance. I'm going to here choose here the instance which we created. Next is source endpoints. This is my Postgres which we created. The endpoint source endpoint is the target endpoint. This is S3 test target S3. This migrate type. I'm going to choose here full load migrate existing data and replication ongoing changes. So I'm going to choose this one. And the editing mode wizard I'm going to keep as it is. Target mode do nothing. I'm going to keep it as do nothing. Then stop after full load completes, don't stop. This is what I'm going to keep it there. Then if you want to enable the CloudWatch logs, you can enable this one, so you'll find all the logs in the CloudWatch. Right now I'm not enabling this one. Table mapping, here you have to choose the table mapping here. Next I'm going to give add new selection rules. The schema is, you know, my scheme, this choose schema. The schema, what schema I gave the, do you remember? Test is my schema name, test, and the table name is employee. I'm going to give employee here. Let's give this employee table name as employee, and that's all. Yeah, that's it. So this is my uh, great task. So this is gonna fail because when you want to do CDC, we need to make some few settings in that the RDS, that Aurora PostgreSQL. So we did not do anything on that so far. So it's gonna fail. Let's create a great task. Let's see what the error message shows here. So now it is showing creating. So this is gonna fail because we did not do any changes to the idea that Aurora PostgreSQL instance. Let's see what it says here, because it's a full load plus ongoing plus full load plus CDC here. So that's the reason it will expect some changes to be happen in that Postgre, because there's some replicants instance should be created. All those things has to be done. So it is not taken care right now. So that's the reason it will fail here. Let's see. So automatically goes to ready status, and immediately it will start. It is going to start. Okay, we don't manually do anything here. Once go to ready status, automatically it's going to start the DMS migration. Let's see whether it is starting or not. It should start. See, now it started, right? It is showing us starting here. So I did not do anything manually here. It's automatically going to happen here. So if you go on table statics, it just shows what are the tables like being migrated from source to target, that you could see here if it is happening. If you enable the cloud metrics, you could see the metrics here, the mapping rules, that we choose only one table, employee, and that's what you could see here, overall status, overview details you can find here. So basically this CDC, this is the place where you'll capture all the data, like the previous recovery points, whatever the commit points it has flushed the data, all those things will captured here. Let's see here. It's showing us as it's running now. Still you don't see a table statistics here. Let's see. It will take some time, but yeah, let's see. Still it is showing us running. So you could see the full load rows. When if it's successful, it shows the number here. So right now it is not showing up anything here. because I expected it would fail. So because we did not enable the CDC, let's see what it says. Still it is, yeah, now it's showing us failed here because we did not do the CDC. We did not enable CDC in the source side, right? Source we did not enable that. That's the reason it's failed. Now it is throwing up the error message saying that uh, unable to plug in to establish logical application source. So this saying like logical application is not yet enabled, so that's the reason it's failed. So unable to use plugins to establish logical applications. So we have to follow the steps mentioned in this documentation page. Let's go into this documentation page and see what it says there. So I'm going to this this particular page here. So using a PostgreSQL as a DMS source. So when you use PostgreSDB as a DMS source, what settings you have to make here? Since I'm using Aurora PostgreSQL, uh, if you are using a self-managed, then you have to follow these steps. But if I'm using Aurora, then there's different steps you need to follow. So this is what we need to follow. The working with AWS managed PostgreSQL DB as a DBS. So this is the what are steps mentioned under this one you need to follow, because our system AWS managed PostgreSQL DB database. The prerequisite is like for using and manage as DMS sources. The first thing is you need to before migrating data from AWS managed PostgreSQL into the following. Use the AWS master user account for the PostgreDB, because here we are going to use the master account. In case if it's like if you're using different account, then you need to follow different steps that are also mentioned here. You have to from the without use a master account, then you have to use the steps mentioned here. Right now I'm using a master account. So here like user account, use the AWS master account for the PostgreSQL DB instance, user account for the Postgres source endpoint DMS. The master account has a record roles that allow to set up CDC. If you use the account other than the master user account, the account must have the audio super user role and the RDS application role. The RDS application role grants permission to the manage logical slots and to stream data using logical slots. So this is pretty much here. So this is what we need to follow here. Like so to enable logical application on the RDS for the DB instance, first what we have to do is use the master account. So that's what we're using here. Next step is set the RDS logical replication parameter in your DB cluster parameter group to 1. So this is the first thing you have to do here. First thing is we need a master account, user account, or you have to create. You have to use, if you use other account, make sure you have some privileges for that master for that user account. Next thing is you need to set the RDS logical application parameter in the DB cluster to group to 1. So we need to set this one. How we can set up this one here is like, let's go into the RDS and so you have to go into DB cluster parameter group. Okay, this set the RDS logical application parameter in your DB cluster parameter group to 1. Okay, let's go into the DB cluster parameter group. Let's go into the database here. This is the cluster, right? This is the cluster we have, right? Go into this one. There is a parameter group will be there. Okay, so let's go into DB cluster configuration, DB cluster parameter group. So right now if you go into this parameter group, we are able to modify here. So what it says is like you have to make this RDS logical application parameter into 1, right? This RDS logical application. So click on this parameter group. So you will not make any changes to this one. Look, let's click on this one, RDS dot, what is that, RDS logical application. Here to change this to 1 here. Let's see whether we can able to save this one. I don't think we can save this one because the default one, I'm not sure whether we can change this one. Let's try save changes. So error saving, cannot modify default parameters. So we cannot modify a default one. Right now it's a default one. If you go see, this is a default one, right? So we can't change the default one. Either we have to create a new parameter groups and then modify this one here. Let's quickly go into create as a new parameter groups. Then we can add that group to this one, attach that new parameter group into this group parameter group. Okay, it's because with the default one we cannot modify this one. So what we do is, let's go into parameter groups here. We're going to click to create a new parameter groups. Okay, click create new parameter group. So this is my Aurora Postgres Aurora PostgreSQL DB 14 the D parameter group name. I'm going to use the group name as some Postgres custom create description custom param group. Create. It's created. Now I'll go into this one. This one I don't need now. It is still showing up the error message. Parameter groups. So here I'm going to give dot. Click on this one. Create a param group. Okay, this is the problem I just created. Sorry. So we have to create what you have to create is, we have to create the param group in your DB cluster param group, right? Here the parameter group type should be DB cluster param group. So since I choose a wrong one here, that way that option is not coming up here. That let's delete this one and create it again. Sorry, delete this one. So I'm going to choose create a new parameter group. So here I'm going to use Aurora Postgres 13 here, and the type I should use the cluster parameter group. Next, the group name is custom Postgres, and this is some custom param group. Okay, click on create. So now this is the one. So here you have to modify this RDS application logical application parameter to 1. So click on this RDS dot logical application. So you need to set the parameter to 1. So that is what it says. I'll go and click on edit parameters, save it to 1 here. So click on save changes. This is the first thing you have to do here. The next thing you have to do here is, next we need to do this the wall sender time parameter. This parameter ends the WL sender timeout parameter ends replication connection that are inactive longer than specific number of milliseconds. The default is 60,000. That is 60 seconds. Setting the value to 0, disable the timeout mechanism. So I'm going to set this to 0 here. So the next one is this parameter I need to set to 0. So right now it is I'm going to set this to 0 here. Save changes. The next third thing is, what you want is like this fourth point here is like ensure that max worker processes parameter in your DB cluster parameter group is equal to or higher than the total combined values of this parameters here. So if you go into here, already there is a logic is in place here, so you have to don't have to do anything particular in this one. So if you see, already the value is greater than this using that particular what is that using as a formula here. So specifically you have to change here. In case it fails, let's go into this one and change here. Okay, so I'm going to keep the default as it is. It's like it is using this formula as the greatest of the DB instance, CPU into 2, all those things taken care here. Keep all those things as it is. So save changes here. So these are many changes you have to do as part of the CDC for this Aurora PostgreSQL. So right now I have this set. I have done this in the custom Postgres. So I have to go into database now. I need to modify this one, right? So I have to go into this Postgres. I go to modify this one. I need to change the parameter group now, right? This parameter group which I created now. So let's go here, connectivity, and go to configurations, default custom parameter group. So I have to choose here the custom Postgres because this is the one I got modified everything right now. So I'm going to use that one right now here. Okay. So that is what I'm going to use here. Click on continue now. So this apply immediately. Modify cluster here. So it's modified now. So once it is modified, better to restart this cluster again. Like I'm gonna click on this one actions. I'm gonna uh, refresh. Clone. I'm sorry. I'm gonna click on this one and I'm gonna do a complete reboot. Okay, let's let it reboot. So because to get this cluster configured, like to get this done in this instance. So I'm rebooting now. So let's get rebooted, and I'll come back once it is rebooted. So now you could see this DB cluster was successfully modified, and you could see I rebooted, and now it is showing us available here. So now I made the echo changes. Let's go into the DMS task and we rerun this task again here. Let's fail now. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to do a restart. Okay, let's see what happens now. Restart, and I'm going to restart from the beginning. Okay, click on restart from the beginning. So click on start task now. So let's see what happens now. So it's showing us starting now, and let's go into stable statistics. It's showing before load. Okay, that's nothing is showing up here. Let's see. Let's say it starts. Let's let us change from starting to running. Then we can see here stable statistics. Now that the old one is gone, and now you'll get a new one here. Once it starts changes. I mean the status change to running, or it will say the load complete and ongoing changes. Let's see. Still it is showing us starting. Now it is changed to running. Let's see the stable statistics now, and you could see the full load status now to change to 2 here. So you could see data is changed to 2 now. Yeah, so it's almost running, and it will change status to load complete plus ongoing. It's Yeah, you could see load complete less replication ongoing. So you could see now like this task completed now. That's why you could see this value as 2 here. Okay, now let's quickly go into this bucket and see what happens in that bucket. So this is my endpoint settings. So sorry, I have to go into this bucket here, CDC bucket. Let's open this bucket, and you can see this bucket here right now, the test, the schema name, and the employee, the table name. So this now you could see the bucket is generated CSV file. Click on this one, and if you want to see the output, just click on this one. Just go to object actions, click query using S3 select, then run SQL query. You'll find the output here. So now the CDC, now the full load is completed. Let's see what happens to the CDC. So if you see here, first you have the implemented data 1 comma John. This is the ID and the name. The second is ID and the name here. Now let's quickly go and do changes in the PostgreSQL and see what happens here. If you see the task here, the task is still showing us still load complete plus replication ongoing. It is not stopped. Still that replication is on. So whenever you make changes to the database, automatically you want to capture in this because automatically you want to capture using this DMS task. Okay, let's go and change some values in the database and see how it works here. I'm not going to touch anything in this PostgreSQL. It's the task is running. So what the changes happening in the PostgreSQL, it's going to capture and create a file in the S3 bucket. Let's quickly go into Postgre and see. We make do some changes there.